thanks for joining us at the table. I'm Fiona. This week we take you to talk about Yes Days for families. We also have Dr. Anna Rubenstein in the studio, and he is going to be talking about adolescents, particularly boys, raising boys to be fine, young, strong, independent young men. We've got so much more coming up in the show, some giveaways, so do stay tuned. Don't forget, Facebook, Instagram, thetable.tv.com. Keep it locked right here. But without further ado, let me introduce you to my crew, the lovely Rachel, Mary Ellen, and Rachel.
Hi.
How are you, ladies?
Doing really well.
Don't worry, you thought I forgot you. Never, never. But first, we take you to a story that was in the ABC News. It was about the No Permit, No Park campaign. Now, this campaign is all about people parking illegally in disabled parking spots. Here in New South Wales, we lose 1 demerit point and we're fined $549 for parking in disabled parking spots without a permit. Rachel, does losing a demerit point, you know, would that work for you? Would that deter you from parking in a disabled parking?
No, the fact that it's a disabled parking deters me from parking there. Sorry, I'm not trying to...
Good on you.
But, yeah, I think I'm fine with it. Take a demerit point. When people are parking there and they shouldn't be, then, yeah, we might really need to up the ante.
Yeah, I think that what they've said is that they looked at a study and they said that just giving people a fine wasn't enough to deter. They looked at the statistics and they saw that there wasn't any change once they implemented a fine. People were still parking there. They'd still take, I think they increased it from like $20 to 200 something.
Yeah.
And
$20 is like a slap on the wrist. It's nothing.
Yeah, that's basically saying we don't care.
Yep.
Do what you want.
Well, I think New South Wales you do lose, but I mean, other states like South Australia, Queensland,
you don't. They're trying to bring it in.
They are.
I think their fine's $252, so it's even
Still
half.
a lot of money.
But they were saying that's still not enough to deter people when they looked at the statistics.
Which is so ridiculous. I don't understand. Like, if you're running late for work or something, are you really going to sacrifice $250? Like, I just don't understand the logical reasoning there.
So no one here has parked in a disabled parking spot?
I haven't, but I think I think to take a step further, take a step back, it's actually about how we look at the disabled people in our society. I mean, the fact that you would just park yourself there and you're able-bodied, you have 2 legs, you can perfectly walk into the store, thinking of someone who struggled to get in the store. I think as a society, until we experience it, we somehow just dismiss people with disabilities.
But we can often confuse people and think they're not disabled simply because they can walk. House with No Steps says 9 out of 10 disabilities are invisible.
Yeah.
So you don't know if someone's got brittle bones and they've got their permit legitimately or, you know, and they still get, people with permits are still being accused of parking there simply, and they've had notes put on their cars saying, where's your wheelchair? Like, we're a bit of a...
Really?
We're a bit harsh,
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
Whose responsibility do you think it is? I think because the police think that it's beyond them to be giving out these parking fines.
Do they?
Yeah.
Why?
It's,
Really?
it's the
Below them.
rangers.
Yeah.
Rangers actually,
Okay.
they are the ones that fine people for parking illegally. Do you think as citizens, I mean, you guys are quite passionate about people, you know, doing the right thing. Would you, if you saw someone parking illegally in disabled parking spots, would you say something?
I wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't?
Yeah, no. And the thing is, you don't know if there's going to be an emergency. I know on the New South Wales government website, if you have a medical emergency, like, you know, someone's pregnant or your car breaks down, there's various reasons why you might need to park there, and you can have that contested in a court as well. So,
well, I think me saying something isn't even going to change. It's probably going to encourage them if they're happy to sort of do that sort of thing. So I don't know that it would make a difference.
Yeah. I think another thing we need to look at is more accessible parking anyway because of our ageing population.
Yeah.
But look, let us know what you think. Drop us a line on Facebook, Instagram or YouTube. Do you think demerit points would work in terms of deterring people from parking illegally? But now it's time to get in the kitchen. Gia and Olive are making chickpea samosa. Let's check this out.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I've got my little helpers in the break. They went for a swim, so they're all covered up. And we are making chickpea samosas this morning, aren't we? Yeah? Yummy? Do you like chickpeas? Yes, I know Hannah really likes chickpeas and Olive's been eating them all, so I don't know there's going to be much left for our recipe. So this is a sanitarium recipe and I absolutely love it because it's easy, it freezes really well, and it calls for 2 cans of chickpeas. 2 cans of chickpeas. Everything can be done in the food processor, so there's nothing to it. I've got 1 whole red onion. I just throw it in there. You don't have to put chili in it, but it does add a bit of spice. Careful, because if you touch this and then touch your eyes, it'll burn. 1 clove of garlic, throw it in there. The rind from the lemon juice that we're going to put in there. So one lemon juice and rind from that lemon. Put it in there. And usually we use fresh coriander, but we actually couldn't find any, so there must be a shortage at the moment. So we're using semi-dried coriander, and it's a whole bunch. Okay, you can put it in. All right. whole bunch of coriander. Usually I just put the whole stem in there, the whole coriander stem, or half a bunch depending on how big the bunch is. Oh, I'm gonna add, hold on, I'm gonna add a little bit. The Sanitarium recipe doesn't have salt, but I like to add half a teaspoon of any good salt like Himalayan. There we go. And we are now going to roll. There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna scrape the sides down a little bit. Can you see the texture? So it's a bit flaky. We don't want it to be mush. You still want it to be a little flaky.
If you like, you can put salad in that.
Okay, that's it, done. Can you switch it off for me? Good work, okay. So we'll take it off. I'm gonna put it in here. So not too mushy, still flaky. This phyllo pastry, I didn't defreeze it properly. You're supposed to defrost it for a little while, and so not half of it, but maybe a quarter of it's missing. So I'm just going to use this one. Usually you can make 4 of them.
Can I eat?
No, you can't. You guys just want to eat everything. Do you want to help me spray? We're going to spray a little bit of oil on top.
Yeah.
Little bit, just a little bit. And we're going to put another phyllo pastry on top. And I might just touch of spray again, just so it sticks properly. And I cut with this one, I think maybe we can make 3.
For us.
But usually you can make 4 on a good size. And just 1 spoon, 1 heaped tablespoon on the top. It's okay if yours is a little more mushy. And then you just fold it over one side to make like a triangle. Can you see that? And then you fold down and you keep folding into triangle shape until you've got your samosa. And then you put it on a tray, a baking tray, and we will be doing that, and we'll come back
And where Papa?
and show you the finished product. Our samosas are out of the oven and they cooked perfectly. So as you can see here, they've just lightly brown, golden brown, and I'm gonna throw them on a plate. Don't forget that you can freeze these before you've cooked them. So as soon as you've made them into little triangles, you can put them in the freezer in a plastic bag and they'll last. Please visit us on our social media and let us know if you make any of our recipes. Please comment and let us know how they turn out. See you next time. Say bye.
Bye.
Heaps nice, Gia. Good work. Now, for more healthy recipes, you need to try and give us a call for this free vegetarian everyday essentials cookbook. It's free. So if you're in Australia, call us at 1300 300 389, or if you're in New Zealand, call us at 0800 694 673. You can email us at hello@the-table. The details are right there on your screen. So do get your copy. It's free, guys. So we take you now to mamamia.com, an article which talked about Yes Days for families. It's actually taken Hollywood mums by storm. In fact, actresses like Jennifer Garner are all about it. They say this Yes Day is all about giving your kids rein, letting them pick what they want to eat, do what they want to do. Your response as a parent is yes. Would you, Rachel or Mary Ellen, appreciate a Yes Day in your families?
Yeah, I feel like I've been cheated as a child. My parents never gave me one of these, and I'm going to go home and request my Yes Day. I think it's a great idea.
Really?
Within reason. Like, how much money do you have? I think that's my
So you would
my
have
first
budget
question.
constraints?
Oh, yes.
It's a great idea. I think it helps. I'm very independent. So I think if Jax came along and wanted to assert his independence, I would appreciate it because I'm independent. I think I don't see anything wrong with it. I think within boundaries, obviously, you know, if my kid tells me to stand in the corner of my head for 20 minutes, I'm not going to do it. But I think it would be fun, you know?
Rachel, your girls are a bit older. Do
Yeah.
you think that they would appreciate a Yes Day, or would you give them a Yes Day?
Of course they'd appreciate it. Who wants a mum or a dad saying no all the time, which is what often happens. I imagine it would be actually quite liberating just to be able to say, yeah, let's do it, or yeah, eat it. Knock
Yeah.
yourself out, you know?
Yeah.
But, from what I know, it's based on this book by Amy Krauss Rosenthal and Tom Lichtenheld, you know, Yes Day, and sort of takes the philosophy, you know, the kid comes along, can I have pizza? Yes. You know, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I clean my room tomorrow? Yes, you know. I think every now and again it would be nice, but clearly we say no for a reason.
Yeah.
Actually, the more you were talking, as you were saying, if my kid came along and asked, you know, can I eat whatever food, I'd say yes. As you were saying that, I cringed inside. So I
Yeah.
started thinking like, no, I actually probably wouldn't say yes to
Well,
everything.
your kid's a vegetarian. Would you allow them to eat meat if they wanted a ham? Mum, I want a Big Mac. Is that something that's going to be
Yeah,
happening
there's a
in your
real,
house?
like I've got two pieces inside of me. One's going, no way. And the other's like, oh, well, yeah, no, still no.
I think the cynic in me kind of says, is this for the guilt? You know, the parents who are away from their children, spending long hours providing and making money, and so these yes days are days where they can just, you know, spoil their kids because they feel guilty.
But you still feel guilty even if, you know, you're with your kids all the time, saying yes to things and realising you're actually a bit of a... I know, but don't you feel guilty being, like, saying no to all the time, you know, to your kids and feeling like, oh, maybe I'm a bit too controlling,
I
maybe...
think there can be like 5 things for me. I feel like I only have a few rules. These are the things I say no to, but
Right.
within reason, like make decisions
You would put
and
like
choose.
boundaries and guidelines and say, hey, this is what we're going to be. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's something that we would probably do, is probably say, these are what you can choose from. This is what you want to do, something like that.
What about saying yes to yourself, though? I thought about this. Like, it's one thing to say yes to your kids, but how often do you actually take a day for yourself and just think, you know what, today is a guilt-free day. I should just give this day to myself.
Delightful.
Good point. Good point, Mary Ellen. I think there's a lot of mums out there that need a yes day for themselves. But now, Mandy makes stain remover. Let's check this out.
I'm sure all of you mums out there resonate with the drama of trying to get stains out of your children's clothes. And I'm sure it ends up costing a fair bit in products from your supermarket to get rid of those stains. So I'm going to show you a really simple, easy stain remover that you can make at home with a few very basic ingredients. We're going to start off with some baking soda. So I'm going to put half a tablespoon of baking soda into my container here. So baking soda has great cleaning properties. Next, I'm going to just use 2 tablespoons, some normal dish soap. And lastly, the magic ingredient that's going to really help get rid of those stains is hydrogen peroxide. So we're going to add 4 tablespoons. Can be a little bit of a scary product to use, so just make sure you are making this perhaps without your children around. Right, that is all of our ingredients. That's it, 3 simple ingredients. I'm just going to give that a mix until it is all well dissolved. The baking soda is dissolved. And then it's really important with this, because you are using peroxide, that you keep it stored in a dark container. So I'm using these dark glass amber containers just to help keep the sunlight out of the peroxide. So if you're getting rid of a stain on a coloured piece of clothing, just leave it on for 3 to 5 minutes maximum, then throw it in with the rest of your washing. All right, so that's going to form a nice thick paste. I'm going to pour that into my container. I'm using a spray container, but generally I'll just take the lid off and pour a bit over my garments because it can be quite thick. You can thin it out if you want. You could add a little bit of water to dilute it, and then you can use it as a spray form. And that's it. From 3 very simple ingredients, we have our homemade stain remover in just a couple of minutes. If you try this, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook at The Table TV Show. Let us know if you also have any other helpful laundry tips for everybody else out there. Thanks so much for watching.
Joining us now in the studio is Dr. Anna Rubenstein. He is an expert on all things adolescence. In fact, he knows his stuff when it comes to particularly boys transitioning to become men. He's also a doctor, a mentor, a counsellor, and we're very blessed to have him in the studio. Dr. Arnie Rubenstein, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, nice to be here.
Yes, and I know you actually wrote the book, The Making of Men.
I did.
And are generously giving away some copies to our viewers. And I've got a copy too, so do get your copy. Give us a call here at thetable.tv.com. But Dr. Anna, I just want to know, with a lot of men these days, like we hear in the news all the time, people like Don Burke and Winterstein in America, the incidences of sexual abuse and women being degenerated, I guess, and sexually objectified. What do you think, in your view or in your opinion, is going on?
I think we have a massive problem, and our work is about looking at the stereotypes that have been around for a long time with men and saying, okay, how can we change this? You know, how can we help our boys to become leaders of the future, to become really good men? And part of being a good man is respecting women, respecting other men, being good fathers. You know, we need good men. We need good men and we need good women.
I know in your book you talk about that transition when a boy becomes a man. What are the differences? Notably, we know that there's physical traits, obviously, when they become a man.
Yeah.
But how can we help that transition?
Well, we wrote a model, and it's in the book, and we talk about classical boy behaviour and classical healthy man behaviour. And for those of you who have young boys, so normal boy behaviour is I'm the centre of the universe, I need acknowledgement, look at me, I can't control my emotions, if something goes wrong I have a temper tantrum, and I want a mother. And that's beautiful in a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, all of that. But healthy man behaviour is, it's not just about me, I'm part of a community, powers for sharing, I can handle my emotions, and I'm not looking for a mother, I'm looking for relationship. And I have a big concern, and some of you women may actually have even met a man who still thinks he's the centre of the universe, is still looking for acknowledgement and power, and still wants a mother. And
The mummy's boys?
Yeah,
the clingy types?
all of that. And so our work is about how can we support boys to go in a healthy way through a transition from boy to young man.
So how do you support that? Like, I know you're doing camps, is that right?
Yeah, that's part of it. A lot of my research was around the fact that in Australia, boys under 12 are doing very well, and then we have this terrible spike in their well-being at around 15, 16, which is also when the suicide rates peak and when the risk-taking behaviour and the mental health issues. And it's like, okay, so what's going on? How can this be happening? And then we looked into communities all over the world, Indigenous communities, traditional communities, and they all would have had some way of recognising and celebrating boys becoming young men.
Right.
So we run camps at our property, but we also work in a lot of schools now around the country and around the world. We're in 10 countries around the world looking at how we can actually create programs to support the transition, not only boys to young men, but girls to young women.
You talk about these rites of passage in your books and a lot of your teachings. What exactly is involved in these rites of passage and why is it so important?
Okay, so when we looked at communities all over the world, what we found was that not only did they all do a rite of passage, but they all did the same things. So they would always share stories. They would share stories of their history as a way of passing on wisdom and knowledge. The boys would always go through some sort of challenge. They would create a vision for the future. And importantly, each of them would be acknowledged for their individual gifts, talent, genius, spirit, however you want to describe that. So we've looked at that and said, okay, so can we in schools and in community groups find ways to have elders sharing stories with children, instead of telling the boys how to live their lives, actually sharing our real experiences and them learning from hearing those stories. Creating challenges for the boys.
Is that what they need? Is that what these boys are missing?
It's part of it.
Right.
Anytime, if we can connect the young boys with elders, there are two things that happen. First of all, the boys gain wisdom and the elders get energy, which is what they both need. So it's a very beautiful thing to do, and it's that mentoring thing. But importantly, we're not telling them how to live their lives. We're talking about our lives, you know, and our successes and our failures. You know, we're talking about relationships. We actually talk about sex. I don't want my boys learning about, you know, sex from porn on their phones. I want them to have healthy, respectful relationships with elders at the right time.
I love this idea that you talk about where the elders are getting energy also from the boys. I have a question though about mothers. So sometimes once we get to this idea of a boy becoming a man, this idea of him being connected to his mom can somehow then be looked down upon. What role does a mother still have in that boy's development?
It's such a good question, and it's so important because we want our young men to have fabulous and healthy relationships with their mothers forever, but we want them to have a different relationship from what they had when they were 6 years old. So when the boys are young, typically a mother's very involved, knows every single thing that's going on with their boy, knows when they need to go to the toilet, knows, you know, everything. And we talk about a relationship that moves from mothering to more one of being available and having it's a more mentoring type relationship. So mum won't know everything that's going on with her teenage boy.
Which can be scary for a mother.
Yes, but we also say say mums don't actually want to know everything that's going on for their teenage boys, but it's so important is that they're there, that they're available, that they still spend good time together. But it's a different sort of relationship. And if we don't change the relationship, what I see and what can be so sad is the boys will actually push their mothers away and they'll reject them and stop sharing, and that's really not good. So the boy needs to change as he becomes a young man, and the mother's relationship needs to change as well.
So does the mom initiate that change, or
Does she need to take a step back, or
Well, I would say it's more a step to the side rather than a step back. And
more of a supportive role?
yeah, and part of our work is when we do these camps, we'll often run camps with fathers and sons, but involving the mothers as well. And you know, we usually around, say, 14, 15, and we create an opportunity where the mothers can share with their boys about when they were young and about the story of you know, when they were growing up, and then actually even talk about what sort of relationship they want to have going forwards and what things they're going to change. And we challenge the boys to go, as a young man, what sort of son are you going to be, and what behaviours do you need to let go of in order to be the best young man that you can be.
So you run these Making of Men and leadership camps.
Yeah.
What can people expect leaving these camps? What are the benefits of attending one of these camps?
Well, we did some research. We did some independent research on a group of boys who'd been on a camp compared to a group of boys who hadn't been on a camp 3 years after the program. And what they found statistically significant was that the boys who'd been on camps had more respect for women, better relationships with their fathers, a greater desire to go on to tertiary education, and more motivation to get involved in community work.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So significant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
It's fascinating about boys, but have you done any research into girls? Do the same principles apply at all, or is that something you'll study further, perhaps?
Yes, no, it's very interesting. So girls would also go through some sort of process, an initiation or rite of passage, but what I love about what happened with the girls is in a lot of the communities, when they went through their rite of passage, they would be given a woman from outside of their family who would become a mentor and support them through their teenage years, which I think is brilliant. And the other thing is, a part of the challenge that the girls went through, they would do it as a group, and the ultimate aim was for the girls to learn to trust their inner knowing and wisdom.
Sorry, can I ask you a question? Why is it brilliant to bring in another mentor and not necessarily have the mum take them through that passage?
I think it's both, but I think there's a time for girls and boys where they need people outside of their family who they can also talk to. We talk about it, we need the whole community raising all of the children. So if there's a time when one of your girls can't speak to me, so he can't speak to you, hopefully she can go to Fiona. Hopefully, you know, you're all actually raising each other's children, and when you can do what's needed, great, but that they have other support networks.
Definitely takes a village. So when we talk about going back to the boys, what happens when they don't transition to becoming a man, and they're in they're a man, but they're not obviously taking on the traits that a man should be?
Yeah, so they're in a man's body, but they're still in a boy's mindset. Well, when they're like that, they're thinking about themselves. They see women as objects. It's about power. It's not about the good of the community. It's about how much I can get for myself. I think it's a big problem. And I look at some of our leaders and some of the elections that have been held.
How can we help men like that?
Well, I think having discussions is a very good thing. You can give them a copy of my book.
Yeah.
You know, we are about challenging men. We are challenging men and saying, what sort of man are you going to be? What sort of man are you? And what behaviours do you know that you have that no longer serve if you're going to be the best man that you can be?
Yeah, some people would say that, men don't mature until they're maybe in their 30s. Do you think that it's too early for boys to be transitioning into being men, in their early teenage years?
I think it's about starting the discussions. So we don't say that after they've been on one of our programs that they're men who've got it all sorted out and know everything. We say they've gone from being big boys to baby men, and they're starting their journey. And hopefully they have other men and women who they can talk to. Yeah. Hopefully they're thinking about it. Hopefully they're looking at how they can serve in their communities, and that they want to become good men.
Yeah. I have to thank Dr. Arnie Rubenstein for generously offering this book, The Making of Men. He's the author of this. You need to email us on hello@thetabletv.com to get your free copy that Dr. Arnie has generously given us. Where can people get information about the camps that you're talking about?
From our website, The Making of Men, which is the same name as the book, just to keep it simple, has information about our programs, our camps. We have junior programs. There's also a resource there. People can find out about other programs happening around the country and mother-daughter programs.
So around the country, where exactly are they? Are they here in Australia or?
Yeah, well, there are a number of groups that we train a lot of people now in understanding what a rite of passage is and how to create something in their community. And one of our goals is that if people are looking for a program, that we can support them to find something.
So how many boys have you put through, sorry to keep going, but how many boys have you put through the program now, and girls, and how many success stories have you had? Can you share any with us?
Sure. Well, we've had over 100,000 people come through our programs in Australia and in 10 countries around the world. And in terms of success stories, my favourite that I've seen so many times is I see a father and his son arrive at a camp and they're standing there and it's like they're strangers and they really don't know each other anymore and it's awkward. And then after a few days of sharing stories at the end of the program and doing everything we do, we have something we do where one at a time each of the boys will sit on a special chair facing all the other men and boys who are on the program, and while they're sitting there, their father will come up and in front of everyone tell his son what he loves about him.
Wow.
What he's proud of. What he's proud of.
Because in a culture where we don't really have that, you know, lovey-dovey conversations with our loved ones.
Especially
so you
for
do
men.
that. Yeah,
and you
especially for
see
men.
them change, you see them grow, you see something. Sometimes the fathers will cry. You know, it's just so powerful and so beautiful.
Everyone wants to feel that value from the person they love and respect, you know?
Yeah, and I want to give you an example of just how powerful it can be. So let's take Fiona, for example, who's been hosting the show today. I would love to hear from you women who've been working with her all this time. What's one or two things that you particularly love about Fiona, and one of the interesting gifts or skills or not so obvious beautiful, wonderful things about her that you've seen?
Well, besides the fact that you're a wonderful mother, you're so witty, you're so great with words, you're so confident and so great on camera.
Oh, thanks, Rach. I'm definitely a blooper trooper. That's
And Fiona's not allowed to say anything, by the way,
sorry,
while
okay,
this
I can't help myself.
She has to just listen.
Yeah, this is too easy. I just find you such a massive support in this role, and you are so encouraging and you're so easy to relate to. It's so nice to have that.
Yeah, I think you're one of the most genuine people I know. You're just, you know, what you see is what you get. There's no, I don't know, ulterior motives or anything. You're just...
I just want to cry, guys.
Awesome person.
So we'll move on to the next one.
And I've only known you for half an hour, and I just see what a beautiful spirit you are and how bright you are in your eyes and how passionate you are about this work and how lovingly you talk about your children and your partner, and you know, you're a special woman and it's obvious.
Okay, let's move on to the next. I'm about to burst out in tears, ladies.
But imagine if we could get every boy and girl in Australia sitting in a chair in front of their peers and older people and their parents and their friends and people who know them, telling them what they love about them.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It changes their lives.
Is this a one-off thing, or is this something that should occur again and again as they're becoming a man?
I think we can't do it too often. I mean, I would encourage everyone who's watching this show to find a space and tell your children, tell your partners, find an opportunity to tell them what you love about them, what gifts you see, what, you know, what their genius, their talent and their spirit is.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arnie. Thank you, ladies. You are all beautiful and wonderful and dear to my heart as well. But look, we have to say goodbye. We hope you can join us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, thetabletv.com. Until next time, all the best. God bless.